This little notebook is arguably the most powerful and effective to-do list you will ever find. But what happens if you want something as powerful as this, but in a digital format? Well, I think your wants have been answered with perhaps the most minimalist yet powerful to-do list, or task manager if you prefer, on the market today. Now, I love this little app because it works brilliantly with the time sector system, and even if you don't use the time sector system, it actually forces you to get realistic about what you can do each day. Because if you pile it with tons and tons of tasks on a given day, you can instantly see from your phone just how impossible you have made your day. And so I want to take you through a system of using To-Do that could really help you break through the overwhelm and get really focused on what is important each day. Now, To-Do comes in two formats. It comes available as an app on your phone, looks like this, and it comes in your browser. It's a web app on your computer. There's no computer application as such, it's just log into Chrome or Safari or Edge or whichever browser you use, and you can enter your To-Do. Now, the great thing about To-Do is that it breaks things down beautifully for you. You use the web or the desktop version of To-Do to do your planning, and then as you get on with the day, you can use your phone to just keep yourself focused on what needs to be done. So I'm going to take you into To-Do now and show you how to get the most out of this amazing minimalistic app. Okay, I need to log into my account first, which I've now done, and what you will see is the To-Do interface on your computer. Now, before we go any further, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can actually see everything that I'm doing here. So what we've got down here are what I would describe as your folders or boxes or buckets. In my case, I think of this as where my time sector system is, my time sectors are. So I have to create an inbox. There's no built-in inbox with To-Do. So I've created my inbox, which is right here. I've now added this week, next week, this month, and next month. Now, to add folders, you can just click on the plus here, and you can now add, they call it a tab, but you can add a folder or tab or whatever you want to do from there. But I've got everything I need right here. My long-term and on hold is over at the back here, but I can also swipe down to here. Now remember, right now, using the computer interface, we are actually in the planning mode. I think of this as the planning mode. So what I've got down here is I've got a number of items down on in my inbox that need to be processed. I've also got already some things that have already set up in here. Now, what you'll notice is the today's date, which I'm recording this on a Wednesday, is right at the far left. I can go backwards and see what I've done in the previous days, but they've all been blanked out. Oh no, Monday, it shows what I've done, so you've got a record of what's been done. But what I'm really interested in is just what's happening from today, if you like, the next 7 days. Now, the other thing I can do is if I want to get into a focus mode, I can click on one, and it's just going to show me today in a nice little box on my screen. I can click down at the bottom here and go for 3 days, so I can see what's happening over the next 3 days. I can see 5 days if I prefer, and I can see 7. Now, when I'm planning, I like to see 7 because I plan on a Saturday, but it's entirely up to you how many you want. But we're now currently in the planning zone. So what I've got here is down at the bottom, I've got buy sunflowers for terrace, and I'm thinking, right, well, I'm going shopping on Friday, so I'm going to drag that into my Friday list. And that's simple as that. I'm just dragging stuff in. I've got some admin work to do for my accountant. I think, right, okay, I've probably got time for that looking at this on Thursday. So I'm going to drop that one into Thursday. I've got to ask my wife to get some anti-tick medicine for my dog, tick spray. So we'll do that today when my wife comes home. prepare for podcast interview, which I have tomorrow morning. So I'm going to do that this evening. I'm going to drop that into today. And I've got to send a draft proposal to Kate. So I'm thinking, right, okay, Thursday's looking quiet. Friday's now looking busy. I probably don't need to send this until next week. So let's do that on Sunday. Now, just bearing in mind, I run my own business. There's no such thing as a weekend. And that's it. My inbox is processed. But let's just say that the sunflowers for the terrace is, I'm not sure. I can just drop that into my this week folder down there. And I can go down here and start looking at what needs to be done this week. So I'm recording this YouTube video. Well, that's got to be done today. So I can just drag that in there. So that's how you move and drag stuff around. But what about these here? You may have noticed these here. I've got these which are in a different typeface. Well, these ones here, all you need to do is I've got my Mont Blanc Bohème to go in for a nib replacement. If I just double tap on that, I get this H1. I can tap that, and now that changes that to a different format. I don't actually want that to be H1, so I'll just remove that. I can also bold, so let's just say that this is my most important task today. I can bold it, but I can also highlight it in a different color. So maybe I can make that my #1 priority today, and then I can just move that up to the top. So that's how it basically works. The desktop version is your planning area. This is where you move things around and you just organize your day. The most important part though is what happens on here, and that's what we're going to look at next. So as you can see now on the phone, that red highlighted task that I did record this week's video on TeuxDeux is now at the top of my list. And I've got all my tasks for today right here. And as you can see on this screen, it is beautifully minimalistic. There's no way I am going to ever be able to get upset about this, because if I overfill this, I'm going to see immediately that I've overscheduled myself. You need to create some kind of space like we have here. Now, if you remember from the planning mode on the desktop, Friday was looking busy. So if I tap over to Friday, it's actually not that busy over here now. Thursday, I've still got all those tasks down in there. And again, as I say, if I can do a lot of things within these. I can move it across till tomorrow. I can delete it. And I can go into here and start playing around with some of the variations. So I can do recurring tasks. I can just add the date. There's a lot of things that you can do within this particular way. If I want to actually add a task directly from my phone, you can see the plus down at the bottom, tap there, and I can start adding a task and then move it. So there is a lot that you can do, but the key to using this particular feature or this particular application is the simplicity. It's absolutely easy to use. You just move along or move around and you can start putting in all the tasks, or you can see what needs to be done each day. Now, one of the nicest things about TeuxDeux is when I tap this to go, a little dog appears, and I love dogs. The other thing I should point out is that the task doesn't disappear. It stays down at the bottom. So if you like to be able to review what you've done that day, you can see from the list what you have done, and it adds that little bit of motivation, much like this does. And this is why I say there's a big comparison between this and this, in that when you cross a task out on a paper to-do list, you can see it's done, and that gives you that little bit of motivation to keep going and not get these things missed. So there you go. That is what I wanted to do. I wanted to cover that and show you how it works brilliantly with the time sector system. Now, before anyone asks, I'm not moving over to TeuxDeux. I've been using Todoist for well over 10 years now. That is my backbone of my task manager. But I know a lot of you out there are really looking for something that's simple and minimal to use. And if that's the case, then I would highly recommend you give TeuxDeux a run. It really does force you to get prioritized on what can and cannot be done. Thanks very much for watching this video, and if you want to learn more about TeuxDeux, I did do a video a few years ago which you can see up here.